Hello everybody, King Nelly Reviews here, and today we're going to get into some Class B action. Now, there's a lot of controversy behind Class B ever since Class A versus Class B dropped. Now, a lot of people are arguing whether Class B is on that level of Class A or whether they've proven themselves. So, I took a reread of the arc, and then I kind of had the characters that I think that proved themselves, characters that didn't prove themselves, and characters that we should honestly not sleep on. So, let's get right to it. Everybody get your fucking hands up. So what I did was, like I said, I reread the arc and I broke it down match by match, and I looked at only the Class B side, the performance, whether they're good or bad, and I gave them a check if they're really good, like a really good performance, a dash whether it's just a decent performance, definitely not a bad one, and an X for a bad performance. And the thing about this topic is that a lot of people look at the big three of the class, which is Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki, and it's like, a lot of Class B isn't at that level. That is true, but you're also ignoring the bottom three. I'm not gonna say names, but like those kind of, Invisible Girl and stuff like that, like they are still Class A. So, that bar is not that high. So people got to remember that Class A isn't just, the big three. Like there's a lot of other people that these Class B guys are probably better than. So let's get to the actual ranking. So to start off with the first match, we had the team of Kosei, Hiryu, Shishida, and Shiozaki. Now, Shishida is like the wolf kind of big monster guy, and he definitely balled out. This man, he honestly deserves like 3 checks. Like he comes out, takes out, well not takes out, but he attacks Kirishima and Froppy just off rip. Like both take damage. Then he even attacked Denki. Even while Denki was using his electricity, he just tanked it. And then he ended up capturing Koda and Kirishima as well. He threw them in the air, which Shiozaki ended up capturing. And he also did a really cool move. He was in his big form, then he shrunk before he actually clashed with Kirishima, and then he grew back, grabbed them, and threw him. So that's pretty smart. Pretty good uses of his powers, and shows that he's pretty experienced. So honestly, if you combine both classes, I think I'll still have Shishida, top 10. If you combine both 2020 from Class A and Class B, he's probably still top 10 just off just how threatening he is alone. Then we can move into Shiozaki, which she actually gets a dash, and mainly because we've kind of seen her before, so I expected just a bit more, but she did help capture Koda and Kirishima. She tied them up, but that was mostly Shishida, so I can't really give like full points for it. Definitely doesn't get an X though, because that's still a big deal. And she did help tie layers around Denki, but Denki kind of wanted to get captured for his new technique. So again, I couldn't really give full points for that. And then she kind of got brainwashed, and then yeah, they lost. So yeah, like just a dash, but definitely didn't disappoint me. Her presence there still helped the team, so I'm okay. Did decent. And then we'll move into Kosei. He's the guy with the air techniques, and Kosei gets a dash as well. He didn't do anything crazy, but he did get a new move. Being able to have the air cubes, and they're soundproof. That's a kind of good thing to note, because that could be useful in a certain situation. And he used it on Koda, and he also used it on Shinso right when Shinso brainwashed Shishida. So Shishida got brainwashed. Kosei was the one that got Shishida out of that situation. And as we know, Shishida ended up taking out 2 people. So Kosei kind of coming in clutch and saving Shishida from that really did help the team. And Froppy also noted that when she tried to break Kosei's air kind of barrier, it was pretty hard, and then she's like, yo, like these guys are pretty strong. So Kosei gets a dash. Then we move on to Hiryu. He's the guy with the plates, and Hiryu, he didn't do too much, but he did have a pretty decent feat, which was when he realized that no one on Team A had a search quirk, but like they were still able to find where Class B were. So he was kind of curious what's going on, and then he realized that there was a tracker on Shishida, and they ended up taking out that tracker before Denki could actually use it. And keep in mind, Denki was honestly about to one-shot all 3 of them at once if Hiryu didn't notice that tracker. And I was thinking, I'm like, how many people in Class A in this situation will be able to do that? Not too many. Of course, the people you would think will be able to do that are probably like up there when it comes to, being a top tier in their class or being really intelligent, right? So yeah, here you off that alone gets a dash because that intellect is useful when it comes to being in these hero situations. So that pretty much wraps it for match one, and then we move on to match two. Now in match two, everyone pretty much passed with flying colors. Kendo, Mushroom Girl, Kuroiro, and the manga dude. Complete fantastic performance. Of course, Kendo, the captain, she was able to outplan Momo, where Momo kind of had a plan in place. You know, attack with Tokiyami first, all that. Then Kendo had like a counter plan, and then when that didn't work with Kuroiro, she had a layered plan on top of that. And then of course with Momo isolated, Kendo kind of handled business and you know took out Momo, took out Invisible Girl, and her plan did help take out Oyama. Kuroiro take out Oyama, so she was directly, no, she was indirectly involved in three takeouts when it comes to Class A. So Kendo, flying colors. She definitely lived up to her class rep name. Then we move on to Mushroom. And Mushroom Girl, she is broken, bro. Like this is how you kind of like make a character just stand out. Have their core just be busted. Like you go remember Mushroom Girl. So Mushroom Girl, she ends up putting mushrooms everywhere. Mushrooms were growing on Momo's nose. Mushrooms were growing on Invisible Girl's body. Literally, all the pipes were just mushrooms. And you know, people were coughing, sneezing. Like her core is dangerous. And then at the end, she ends up taking Tokiyami, which everyone kind of considers the top tier of the class. So yeah, being able to take out Tokiyami using that technique, she's dangerous. This technique can honestly work on a lot of people. So like I said, combine all the classes, Mushroom Girl is still pretty up there, you know. So Mushroom did well. Kuroiro, he stood out based on his dynamic with Tokiyami. You know, before the match, they were saying, "Oh, Tokiyami controls Dark Shadow. Me, I control darkness or blackness in general." And then so they had that dynamic going on. And then in the match, he ends up controlling Dark Shadow a bit, and then ends up taking Oyama out the picture. And then at the end of the day, he also ended up capturing Oyama. So, you know, he caught a body, interesting design. It's a design you really won't forget, you know. So design and quirk, you won't forget that guy. So he gets a check. And then the manga guy, I honestly forgot how much work he put in. You know, he was honestly the reason why Kendo and Momo. I mean, he was the reason why Kendo and Momo could have that 1v1. Like he separated Momo from the pack, which was a big deal. And he also had this one cool thing about his manga quirk. Of course, he was just like spitting out his the words and like attacking people. But he also had a sound effect that makes is a humidifier, and it made the mushrooms grow more. So if he could do that to mushroom, keep in mind this is a very specific effect, you know. So when it comes to more basic effects like feeling burns or you know stuff like that, he might be able to use his quirk to you know increase status effects for various different things. So his quirk is actually pretty interesting. So he gets a check. So yeah, all four people in group two got their checks. Now let's move on to group three. Now for group three, we had Pony, Kebara, Juzo, and Tetsu Tetsu. Now with Pony did pretty well. She isolated Suji from Todoroki, kind of went even with Suji for a bit, and then she also took out Ojiro, captured one. So you know, taking out a body by herself, that just gave her a check. And on top of that, she flew everyone on the top when Suji was just left, and it made them not lose. You know, they didn't win either, but you know, Pony, she's threatening. You know, she's definitely someone that put her in class A, she's not gonna be like bottom tier. You know, she's pretty good. Then we have Kebara. Now Kebara is like the first real miss. You know, Kebara really didn't do anything. He was just spinning. You know, spinning. Ojiro kind of, you know, he was just like, you know, he really can't block perfectly because you know, spinning and it's sharp, but. Yeah, outside of that, Kibara really didn't do much. You know, he was just spinning on a Jiro. Then Ida came, took him out, and then we were told that him spinning on Ida kind of lowered his stamina a bit, but like that's just a given. You know, that's not really impressive. So yeah, he's an X. You know, like Kibara didn't really do nothing. Like he yeah, Kibara, he's buns, is what it is. Then we move on to Juzo, the recommendation student, and Juzo really balled out. Like he's one that combined classes like top 6. You know, like he's so good. With the softening quirk, he kind of made Todoroki's ice basically useless. And then he also, with the background, you know, with the pipes, he softened everything. So it made like when Ida and Ojiro were just moving around the pipes, they were like sinking. Then of course he like when Ida was on the ground, he sunk him too. Ida ends up getting out of it, but it's just cool that someone that's not Ida would pretty much not be able to do anything in that situation. Then he ends up helping Suji and Pony in one situation. He also ended up helping Tetsu Tetsu. You know, he strung Todoroki, made a pipe fall on his head, and he's also able to swim underground with his quirk. So very versatile. You know, he's smart. He's very yeah, like I said, versatile. He's able to use his quirk in many different ways. So I do appreciate characters like that. So he gets a check, and then Tetsu Tetsu a check as well. This guy, he really balled out. You know, he started off kind of doing what Kirishima didn't do, which was play to your advantage, right? Kirishima, it's not about Kirishima, but Kirishima did mention that Tetsu Tetsu, by like cutting down the field to make it more like 1v1 frontal attacks, it really played to their strengths. And then of course, so with hardening or steel quirks, you're gonna want like a face-to-face fight because that's where you shine the most. Then he ends up fighting Todoroki most of the time, and then Todoroki, he was really laying it on old boy, bro. I'm talking about like ragdoll, throwing this guy left, right, punching him. Todoroki used ice, he tanked it. Used fire, he tanked it. I'm like, damn, like Tetsu Tetsu, he came in with heat, bro. So yeah, he gets a check, and of course we also got a bit of lore in his powers. You know, he was saying that he was in the oven for like a day, and he trained to be able to withstand these Todoroki techniques. So yeah, he gets a check for just evolving his quirk and doing that performance to what we consider a top tier. You know, Todoroki. Not a lot of people can beat Todoroki, or at least push him that hard. So that's it for match 3. Now let's move on to match 4. So we move on to Bakugo's victims in Group 4. Now, these are Bondo, Awase, Kamakiri, and Tokage. Now let's start off with Bondo. Bondo gets an X. Now, Bondo, he's the glue dude, and under Tokage's instructions, they did end up attacking successfully Team Bakugo, and he ends up using the glue on Sero's tape, and then Kamakiri ends up cutting, you know, some buildings to fall on them. Now, his glue definitely is, you know, threatening, but outside of his glue, because after, you know, the next scene, after Bakugo's team kind of got out of the glue, they were chasing Bondo, and then after they caught up to him, they captured him. So literally all we got was just Bondo using glue, and then that's it. You know, we didn't get nothing about how smart he is, you know, his reflexes, you know, is he quick in the head, is he quick-witted, stuff like that. So we know pretty much nothing else but that he could just use glue, at least when it comes to his fighting capabilities. So yeah, he gets an X, because that's not really enough for you to really compare him to like these other certified, you know, characters. Then move on to Awase. Now Awase gets a dash because he, of course, he didn't do enough to get that check, but he snuck Bakugo. You know, sneaking Bakugo is not an easy feat. Not a lot of people can do that. So Deki even complimented him on his stealth. So him being able to meld Bakugo like that, that's really good. And even when Bakugo broke out, he still had that defensive transformation ready, and I'm pretty sure that still would have tanked whatever Bakugo's explosions was gonna do. So that's pretty much why Bakugo left it to Jiro. So yeah, being able to have a versatile quirk that can not only like just tie someone to like a wall, but also to have, you know, you can also defend yourself with it. That's, you know, that's good. That's good. Then with Kamakiri, blades, and then like I mentioned earlier, he cut up like, you know, pipes and stuff to fall on the people. So, you know, he's already applying pressure to Team Bakugo. And then on top of that, he's pretty quick. You know, like he rates his own speed pretty high, because he was like, no one's as fast as me. And then dashes towards, I think it was Jiro. And then when Bakugo ends up, you know, saving Jiro and then shooting a big blast in Kamakiri's face, Kamakiri, like, he had the reflexes to dodge it. So he blocked it with a blade, and the Bakugo was like, oh, you know, like, your reflexes are actually really, really good. So yeah, having reflexes that's able to kind of protect yourself from Bakugo's quick like counter, that's impressive, because not a lot of people can do that. So off that alone, he gets a dash. You know, obviously can't get a check because it's not like he did much, but not an X. You know, because those reflexes alone and just a blade quirk and him being fast, pretty decent. Then we go to Tokage. Now Tokage, she gets a check because she was the brains behind the operation. Of course, she was used to proper Bakugo, but that doesn't mean that she still sucks. You know, her her plan would have worked if Bakugo was Sports Festival Bakugo that kind of led his team without like full trust and just like you follow me, I'll handle everything. Because if that's what he was doing, like she mentioned, there'll be like a time lag, and then they'll take advantage of that time lag and end up winning. And yeah, and then her quirk being able to pressure Bakugo the way she did because the pieces were too small for Bakugo to actually aim, so she was able to kind of get some good hits in. And then with Jiro's search, she was able to distract them by putting like a lot of different pieces in many different areas, and then that ended up leading to their advantage, and then they could attack using that as a distraction. And even when they were about to counterattack, she was the one that told Awasi to like hide and like get Bakugo. And like I said, if Bakugo didn't have like the trust he did with his companions, he would have just been locked up. Then everyone just confused. Oh, what do we do? Right? Of course Bakugo was like, if I'm in trouble, help me. You're in trouble, I'll help you. That kind of thing. So yeah, Tokage still gets that check, even though she was used to prop up Bakugo. But hey, it is what it is. Top tier people can still lose to even more top tier people. So now we move on to match 5. Now in match 5, we have Monama, Shinso, Yanagi, Koda, and Shoda. Now, Monama, dialogue alone, he gets a check. He's honestly my fave Class B character when it comes to just dialogue, because his history behind his quirk, him not really being like a main character, like not in a literal sense, like he's not Deku, but having like that, a quirk that he can train himself to be stronger, to make himself stronger. He has to copy other people's quirk, so he was kind of bullied as a kid, or at least looked down upon for having that kind of quirk. And then he just had a lot of panels talking with Shinso just about stuff like that, and I found that really intriguing. And then that kind of boosted character up, just having scenes like those. But he ended up touching Deku too. Like everyone knows what Manama's quirk is, so every time he's able to touch somebody when they know they're not supposed to be touched by him, that's a big feat, because it's hard for you to touch somebody when they know. But yeah, he still put it off. So, and I also like how he used like the twin impact quirks, and him using the Portuguese and size quirk to kind of fly towards Deku. That was pretty good. And yeah, his overall planning and stuff like that was just good. So he gets a check. Shinso, of course, without a doubt, he gets a check. He had good scenes. He was able to. We had some insight with Aizawa. They're training, and then he was able to use the ropes to bring down the pipe against Deku. And he did have that moment where he brainwashed Deku to stop him from doing the Black Whip. So, overall, Shinsho as a character, like that match was a good kind of showcase of like who he is and who he's gonna be. Then with Yanagi, the Portuguese quirk, Yanagi and Kodai and Shoda, they basically worked like in conjunction with each other, like, because the Portuguese quirk, she can't control things too big. So, or I think they said bigger than the human body. So she has to control things, pretty small. And then throwing small like pebbles and stuff won't really hurt anybody. But with Kodai's size quirk, she can take big things, shrink them to a size where Yanagi can like control, and then she throws like the small, like the big thing that was shrunken down. She throws it, then it grows back big. So now she's able to basically throw really huge things with that combo. And then with Twin Impact Shoulder, like they just love that quirk. They were using Twin Impact every 3 seconds. Twin Impact, Twin Impact, Twin Impact. So he gets a check just because of how much damage he caused, just like hitting people. And then when Ama copied it, hit Deku. So, yeah. And then of course them just having all that screen time, because this was the longest match. So they had a lot of screen time. They would just had many scenes of them just like hitting and just pressuring, Team Deku. So yeah, they had a good showcase. Put them in the fields with some random villains. They can all work together and pretty much handle business. So overall, the only X's I think I gave was Kebara and Bondo. Yeah, Kebara and Bondo I think were the only X's. Like those two, they didn't do much for me at all. But of course, we had a lot of like dashes, not a lot of outstanding performances. Only really Shishida, of course, everyone from Team Kendo. Outside of Kebara, everyone from match 3, Team Juzo. Only Tokage really got the check from her match. Bakugo kind of just shut everyone down. And everyone from match 5 got a check. So, yeah, overall, I think Hori handled Kazbi pretty well. I feel like I think I remember seeing a tweet that like if you take Class A and then Class B and combine them, of course Class A would have the Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki kind of top three. But when it comes to everyone else, like Class B fits in like a lot of the middle, and then like towards the end you get like the Invisible Girls, and then the Kodas, and like those like the Oyamas. Basically they're saying that Class A is too skewed. Like their best characters are really good, the worst characters are not really that good. But Class B has a good, like they're all pretty good, so they will fit in most of like the upper middle kind of tier. And I find that interesting. Like I have to really look at it to like fully agree, but I get what they're saying because, like I said earlier, people compare everyone to just Deku. Like no, like look at look at everyone else in Class 8. Like these guys, they're pretty good. Shishida especially, that guy's a monster. Mushroom Girl, Kendo, Kuroro, Manga, Quirk. Like these guys, if they enter Class 8, they won't be bottom two. Like they're gonna be pretty good. So yeah, overall, I think they did really good. Hori, he did his thing, and like I said, 2 misses for me, that's great because I expected a lot more. But yeah, I think Class B proved themselves to be deserving of like Class A rival because yeah, y'all put Class A on too high of a pedestal. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Class B, go easy on them. They're just minor characters at the end of the day, but they still deserve to be here. Most of them do. They definitely prove themselves in this arc, and I do hope that in the future we get a similar arc where Class A and Class B, it doesn't have to be like them fighting each other per se, but like those 40 students as a group, they just like fight somehow. Maybe it's you can team up with anyone regardless of the class and then fight like another group, something like that. I don't know, but obviously not right now. We're in a really good arc right now, so that could happen just anytime in the future. But I think that'd be dope. Maybe year 2 or year 3. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you all for watching this long, and like, comment, subscribe if you want more. Hit that notification bell so you won't miss any uploads. Thank you again, and I'll catch you later. Peace.